Hello everyone. I know you people have been missing this pretty face, but I know I've been off for like almost half a year now, 4 months, ever since the new year started. I haven't shown my face, and I've just been busy with my personal life. I've been between jobs and getting just used to the new changes that are happening around me in my personal life. With my we bought a new house, and I shifted my parents to the new one, and I'm living alone now. And currently I'm looking for someone to basically be a paying guest, because we have I have 2 bedrooms here, and even though I can use both of those, one as a bedroom and another one as a study, and so I can work from home, but my family doesn't see it fit for me to be living all alone in this 2 BHK flat. So looking for a paying guest. If you people know anybody, or yourself are looking for a place to live in Aund, Pune, hit me up. So today we'll be talking about one of the topics that I promised that I will be talking about. The one that was most controversial, my thoughts and opinions about the whole concept of virginity. That's the topic today. So basically, what is virginity? And of course it's a controversial topic, taboo topic, and I mean, no such thing as virginity in Indian cultures. We don't really, because we see sex as taboo, period, right? Well, that's wrong, because the original Indian culture, which is the Vedic culture actually, where Kama Sutra actually was born. So sex is not taboo in Indian culture, really. It's the later on British and Mughal empire and their influences which has brought India to make sex a taboo. Anyways, overall the topic is taboo because puts certain pressures on females, because virginity is seen as a thing aligned with purity, and it's usually lost when people have sex, not just women but anybody. So the whole thing with virginity is, I mean, we'll just divide it into points to remember, is that it is a quality, not a quantity thing. Okay, you cannot say give me half of your virginity. You cannot say I'm half a virgin. No, you either are one or you're not. Okay, so it's not a quantity thing. You cannot count it. It's definitely a quality, which is usually synonymous with purity. And you might have seen in Western movies and shows that if a dude is a virgin, usually seen as a loser because cannot get any girls. If a woman is like that, it's called a prude, or just stuck up people. That's a complete different thing, because we're not going to talk about people and their views. I'm just going to go ahead and talk about my views, but overall what I know about the whole concept, because that's the real knowledge what you people are actually going to get up from me today. So what I ended up learning about the whole thing, is that the thing with virginity is something that you can lose. You can lose it. You cannot gain it in any way. It's something that you already have, and you lose it. So first thing is that it's a quality thing, not a quantity thing. Second is you have it and you lose it. And just like anything that you have and you lose, then you're the loser. For example, if you have money and someone scams you out of money or makes you buy something, whether it's the right way of business, legal, illegal, ethical, whatever. If you lose money, then you are the loser. But apparently the world view right now is that if you keep your virginity, you're a loser. I mean, ironic, right? But anyways, so actually that also falls into one of the things, because it's like money. Anything is like money. You lose time, you waste time, you lose money, you're a loser, because you weren't able to keep it or whatever. So same thing, it's like virginity. If you lose it, you're a loser. Because you're losing something, and it's a quality which is synonymous with purity, yada yada, etc. So how do we lose it? And usually what people think is that once you have sex for the first time, you lose virginity, which is also wrong. It is wrong because if it's purity, it can be lost with innocence from childhood. The moment a child loses his innocence, loses virginity. Doesn't have to be sexually, doesn't have to be corrupt in mind, body, anyway. You lose that innocence or purity, whatever, which is aligned with virginity. But going deeper on just the virginity, not talking about innocence and those type of things, virginity is a little bit different. Virginity is not just lost sexually, definitely, but we nowadays use it as you're a virgin, you haven't had sex. That's what the word is becomes synonymous to, which is a dumbed down use of the word, but that's not what the word really means. So the word virginity is a quality, you have it, same thing, but you lose it. Everybody loses it, even if you do not have sex. Like, for example, if you're 25 plus 30 years of age and still haven't had sex, does not mean you are a virgin, literally, because you lose it in many ways. At the same time, if you have had sex a couple of times, I mean, chances are you are not a virgin. But yeah, there's no reason to demonize sex or the act of sex as if it is a sin. So where does the sin come in? Where exactly do you lose that purity, which is what we're talking about, virginity? Where do you lose it? Basically, for understanding this, you have to understand basic principles of what you actually have in order to see how you lose it. For example, if you lose money, well, you need to know, where did you lose money from? Was it your liquid cash, the cash that you had on you that was stolen, or was it some fixed asset that somebody just made some papers up and coerced you into signing or giving your thumbprints on a raw document? What exactly type of thing are we dealing? Where is virginity exactly in our body? So we can figure out where and when we lost it, if we have, or how does one lose it. So where is it? What is it? So basically, the human body, or the human life, or any life for that matter, is lived on many levels. Okay, so the most simplistic and basic is the division of that into three. So the three being spiritual, mental, and physical. Okay, so the human life is the body, physical, the mind, mental, and the spiritual, like the soul or your spirit. Okay, so I'm talking about these three things only now, but there are more things. You can stretch it more or zoom in more to see more than just three differences. You can talk about the 7 chakras, you can talk about navagrahas, you can keep going and going endlessly into the complete human design or whatever. Or you can just make it much more simplistic and make it just one thing, that it's in the body, and if you've had sex, you're not a virgin, which we do anyways. So just a little bit more complex than that, giving you the actual meaning of what it exactly is, as much as a normal human should know, not going into the 7 chakras and everything, because not everybody is into that spiritual or yogic stuff. Just a little bit. So, for example, like, if just because you're not a yogi doesn't mean you do not meditate. Everybody, sits, calms themselves down, does breathing exercises. It's healthy for people of all walks of life. So, simplifying that, I've divided it into body, mind, and spirit. So where do you lose virginity? Now, mostly everyone, is born a virgin, and some are not, but that's a completely different topic. But most creatures, people, humans, are born virgins, and we lose virginity on all these 3 levels. Now, what happens is, first we have to understand the nature of these 3 forms of our life, or parts, or ways. So our physical way, which is our physical expression, our physical body, that loses its virginity. Our mind loses its virginity. Our spirit loses its virginity, but they all lose it differently. So how does that happen? Well, for the body is subject to everything that the mind does. Okay, that's why people talk a lot about mind control, self control, those type of things, because once the mind has become, and this is for both positive and negative things, so if the mind is corrupt or has become corrupt, the body would naturally follow it. And once certain things are in the body, it's game over. For example, if you have negative thoughts and stress, like, stress is one of the biggest root causes of hair loss in men and people overall. So if the mind is weaker or negative, eventually you'll catch those diseases, attract those type of negative and lower vibrational whatever diseases or conditions. And once it becomes in the body, which is body is physical, then it's almost game over. Then you have to physically remove those negative things, like detoxing, like operations. So for example, if a snake bites you, that's a physical thing. Okay, it's not mental. The poison is physically in your body, so you have to suck it out, or whatever. So that's a physical thing. So once the body is compromised, it's almost game over. Now the mind is where control is. This level in the middle, body, mind, and spirit. The mind level is where control happens, is where the whole game happens of life, where we can choose, where we have the choice of good and bad, and we can choose for ourselves. The mind can choose to think positively or negatively. It can decide what to do and the outcomes. Fear comes in the mind, then all the negative things, positiveness and hope and belief, it works with the mind. So that's the mind. The body is like a slave of the mind. The mind is like the slave master. Now spirit is the freedom. I'm giving an analogy, but yeah, the body is the slave, the mind is the slave master, and spirit is your freedom, because spirit is free. You cannot control the spirit, you cannot condemn the spirit. Okay, the body can be condemned, the mind can be controlled. Okay, so for example, if you have a revolutionary, their spirit you cannot break. You can put them in jail, you can stop their movement, you cannot control their minds completely with propaganda and everything that's been going on TV and shit that people watch. That's mind control, we know this. So mind can be controlled too, outside or yourself. Others can control your mind, you can control your mind, you can control other people's mind. That's where things like seduction, vashikaran, all those mind control, MK, Delta, Ultra, whatever, all those things happen. But the spirit is free. Okay, spirit for every living creature is free. It can be evil spirit or good spirit, but it's free. Okay, so duality is in everything. The positive and negative is in everything, but the modes they work on are different. So when it comes to virginity, mostly we only talk about losing virginity because we have sex. So it's not corruption exactly, but the what happens is, once a person has that physical act, which is sex, that's like you are condemning, that's the end line, because like I said, once the body is compromised, it's game over. So for example, if you have sex for the first time and you're a girl and the condom breaks, you get pregnant and you cannot, then your body is going to change. So yes, the body is affected and you cannot reverse that change. The mind, if the mind is affected, if a person becomes corrupt in the mind. Now this is not always about corruption, because sex is not just corruption. So for example, when we grow up to be post-pubescent or go through puberty, when we develop bad attitudes about sex, unhealthy attitudes, just because it's kinky or naughty or fun, and we take it to a level that is not okay for us and others overall, for our own spirit, mind and body, then the corruption happens. That's when you lose virginity. Okay, now this is an example of the mind. So not always the source is the mind, but whenever virginity is lost, the only thing that we could have had control over was our mind. So for example, most people nowadays, like, I'll be honest with you, anyone, even if you never had sex or whatever, you're not a virgin. Nobody walking on the face of the earth right now is a virgin or pure. You're not, because we are all being mind controlled by mainstream media, mainstream whatever that people get into, movies, music, everything. So mind is definitely attacked, because that's the one that can be controlled. That's why sexualizing kids or all these unethical practices, which may be lawful in certain countries but completely unethical, have been going around. So those things can affect the mind, and the mind is the one that can be controlled. So even if you are born a virgin, a pure soul, a pure person in body and mind and spirit, you being subject to mainstream movies and everything else, your mind is corrupt, because you have developed certain attitudes about certain things, not just sex. Okay, so that's corrupting your mind, and once the mind is corrupt, the body naturally follows. Now the spirit is free, it cannot be changed. But if the mind and body, the existence of the soul of the person, constantly he's thinking about sex all the time on his mind, his body is naturally going to follow. Okay, his or her. And what do you think is going to happen to the spirit? If the spirit is not okay with those type of practices, those type of thoughts, the spirit will fight it, and it will not be happy being in that host, in that body. You cannot control the spirit, but at the same time, I'm not saying the spirit will become corrupt, but the person completely definitely has become corrupt and lost virginity. That person is no longer a virgin, a pure person. So do not think that, what is this guy talking about, he's just calling people, impure because they're not virgins. Why? this guy not uh, cannot get any girls or nothing like that. You have to understand it's not just about sex. Virginity is something that you lose, and you're the loser if you lose it. Doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. Now, you might think that, well, being an adult, everybody has to lose it. Like, for example, even if you go with that, with the opinion that maybe a person should only have sex after marriage, still eventually you have to do it because it's part of your body, it's natural process and everything. Sure, no doubt, there are certain attitudes of sex and everything that are not corruptive for the mind and the body. That does not make the spirit feel like, I do not like this type of content or this type of treatment, whatever it may be that you are doing sexually. So the corruption of those things is what is loss of virginity. So if a person in, like I said, the mind is where everything happens, but if a person is how can I say this, in body doing certain things that his mind is not aligned with, his spirit is not aligned with, but in body he's doing it. Now all creation happens in spirit and mind, but if body, like I said, body is subject, body is like the base of everything, but if the body is doing it and we never do, like for example, if it's consensual sex, then we've thought about it as an adult. But since we talked about western part of the world and the how they view virginity and everything there, let's just talk about that part of the world. People there lose virginity much earlier, before they're 18. This is a fact. So mostly you just do it because of certain attitudes, because your friends pushed you into it, like, what the fuck, you're still a virgin, all that shit. So of course that is also mental, but certain times, most of the times to be honest, it's very common nowadays that people also get sexually abused by a family member usually, or a friend or whoever. So that is where the introduction of that corruption happens directly in the body. Where the mind is good, the spirit is definitely good, you're not being coerced, you're not being pushed into anything, into doing anything, but you do it because it's directly on your body. So that kind of a corruption is not your fault. Technically nothing is your fault, but I mean, I'm not saying you have no responsibility in losing your own virginity, but if certain things like that happen, does not mean you have lost your virginity. For example, if you've been abused, does not mean you are not a virgin, because in spirit and soul you are still that. But the problem is, after going through that type of traumatic experience, your spirit is shattered. So unfortunately, yeah, that's a very bad unfortunate example, but that's where the body directly gets corrupt. Usually this only happens in the mind, mostly nowadays, because of the type of content, and very rarely, but not that rarely to be honest, is the source of that corruption, of the loss of virginity, is the spirit. There are certain people born with evil or negative-ish bad spirits, sometimes sexually, sometimes other ways. They're more naturally violent in spirit, not in mind or in body. Okay, and they do certain things. For example, I don't exactly remember the name of the kid, but this little girl, she appeared on Dr. Phil, I think in the 90s, and she would kill little animals, helpless animals, like, and she would even sometimes take a knife and go at night, go in the parents' bedroom and have thoughts of those type of things. So that kid is not seeing anything like that in their own house. So nor is that kid smart enough to see anything like that in TV and replicate that. So where is that coming from? Now of course we know that past lives, those type of things are very real. Did I just say real? Anyways, but keeping that aside, these are the examples who are naturally in spirit corrupted, bad or negative. Why am I saying bad or negative? Negative is just the minus side of the number line. Bad is something that's not good, not productive. It's progressive, it's destructive. But evil is, corrupt is something that cannot be helped. Okay, so once the spirit is naturally like that, you have to take a spiritual approach to cure someone like that. Okay, so for example, if you have a possessed person like you see in the movies, like the Exorcist or something like that, you cannot purify that person. You cannot take a sample from their body and be like, okay, their cells have certain bad things, they have a parasite, and we're going to give them medicine so that thing is thrown out. And because demons are parasites, by the way, mostly. Yeah, that's where possessions come from, because parasites are hosts. Parasites need hosts. Parasites live on our body. That's what germs and diseases, the whole thing is. But with demonology and those type of things, possessions which are not approved in, like, seen as a liable thing in science, they work on the same basis. For example, a demon needs a person to possess. A evil spirit, you've seen these movies like Conjuring, and they need the consent of the adult to get inside their body. They can latch themselves, but they cannot be inside. That's because the body is a vessel. Okay, if you know about the human body, what it is, if you know about in the world what trees are vessels, because our body has a tree inside it, which is our spine. These are more spiritual things. A house is a tree, so ghosts and evil spirits, they latch onto them because they are the parasites. Demons, ghosts, spirits, all those things, those are parasites, and they need hosts to live in the outer shell. Just like our soul needs the human body to live this life, this materialistic life. Similarly, those type of beings also need a host to actualize themselves in this materialistic realm, one way or the other. That's why you hear stories about ghosts on trees, or in certain houses that house is haunted. So they need a host in the form of a tree, in the form of another person, in the form of those type of things. So that's where the spiritual corruption happens, that can take away your virginity. And that corruption is not just sexual. So but up until now I've talked about the sexual corruption. We'll talk about other kinds of stuff. So for example, thoughts of murder, thoughts of evil doing, thoughts of stealing, something little or something big, thoughts of rape, thoughts of abuse, thoughts of exploitation. Not thoughts, not just on the mental level, but your spirit naturally being like that. Okay, it is okay to be the type of money maker, but being the type of person that's hoarding money from other people, that's the type of, like, a loan shark. Those type of people where does that, like, greediness and all those things, those are the things that corrupt you, because those are not healthy things, for a person. So where do those come from? So it could be anything. For all kinds of people, the sources are all kinds of places, and it could happen anytime, anywhere. Usually, mostly during the time of when you're going through puberty or your first experience, sexually or otherwise. Okay, so it is very important for kids to be watching, we already know this, watching right kinds of movies and stuff, not watching a lot of action is good, but killing and those, all that shit is not good for kids or even for adults, to be honest. But it depends, how does the mind take it. A person who is in control of their mind can watch an action movie and still have the right attitude when it comes to violence with men, women, whatever. Whereas a person who will have a corrupt attitude or mind towards certain things, you are going to act like, okay, they're doing it. We see that in movies. If that's the reality that we see of humans in the TV, that some person just said something and that dude, he's a badass, he didn't take that shit, so he just fucking whooped his ass. And that's how it should be. So if a certain situation happens in my life like that, and I'm trying to be a badass too, like I just boom, and then you become a violent person. But you need to understand how much you let the idiot box, the TV, change you. So a person who's in control of himself, herself, it is your own responsibility how much to watch certain things, how much you should be influenced by certain things, by certain people, influencers, etc. That is where you can control your sanity. That's all mental. It's all in your mind. And to have the right mental attitude, sexually and otherwise, that's important, because that's the mind is where control happens. Okay, spirit you cannot control. If you are naturally a free spirit, then you are always that. And if your body becomes corrupt and your mind becomes corrupt, sexually or otherwise, your spirit is not going to like that, and it will always be and that's why you see a lot of sex workers, porn stars killing themselves, because in spirit they are not like that. Even though certain circumstances have made them to be that way, where their body has to do certain things, their mind has to be exposed to certain things, but their spirit is not aligned. So the alignment between the mind, body and spirit is the natural structure of a human being. That is how we live. You cannot say that I'm working for a pharmaceutical company which kills, just as an occupational hazard, is involved with killing a lot of innocent people, and I'm all for the people, I'm well off, I'm rich enough, I even do charity, but I work, most of the money I get is from a pharmaceutical company, a big one of the big ones, like the big pharmaceutical companies. If you're working for them, the people who sell poison literally in the form of medicine, and that's your work, that's your karma that you do, that's your job, that's your profession. And then inside, ethically, in your heart, you are a different person. That's a mismatch, that's a misalignment in your life. You will not be happy, even if you have all the money, everything in life. Even if you have loved ones, you won't be able to have a peaceful sleep at night, because the alignment has to happen. This is a thing about the body. This is how we are aligned. This is our natural health. So we have to live aligned lives. Even if you're doing evil, you have to be aligned. So for example, if a person does something evil, he will keep telling himself that, no, this is righteous. I did this because I slapped him because he slapped me. They will try to back rationalize whatever bad things they did, because they have to, because they cannot just do something physically in the body and not have a reaction in their mind. This is what is the structure, which is the alignment of spirit, mind and body. This alignment is what is known as yoga. Okay, so what is yoga? People always think yoga is a hippie spiritual practice or something that's completely detached for people who are not into the materialistic world. But sometimes the dilute version of it is used for mental health and etc etc. What is yoga? That is not yoga. I mean, it is based on the principle of yoga. So what is yoga? The astrological meaning of the word yoga, which is the same word which we use to talk about yoga. For example, yoga pants and yoga mats, what people do, breathing exercises and poses and all that. Yoga, that word is the same which we use in astrology in the form of yoga. Yoga is yoga, yoga is yoga. So for example, Raj Yoga, Budh Aditya Yoga, Kemadhruma Yoga. These are Vedic astrological terms which are these terms are used for alignments of planets. So when certain planets align together, two or more multiple planets, they're known as yogas. Usually when these alignments are positive, they're known as yogas. When they are negative-ish, they are called doshas. Usually, not always. Sometimes doshas are good and yogas are bad. Okay, but usually that's the right hand thumb rule, something like that. So with what was I talking about? Shit. With sorry, I just think I'm thirsty. So what happens with that, the posing and breathing, that type of yoga, is the same thing. You are trying to align certain things, which are, if you talk about three things, then mind, body, and spirit, mind, and body. Okay, if you're trying to talk about seven things, then seven chakras. You can go higher, lower, depends. Okay, so this is why we sit down and meditate, because we have to stabilize the body first. Then we talk about not having any thought, because we're stabilizing the mind first. Second. And then the spirit can flow in naturally. Now, the whole thing that you were motivated enough to take time out of your life to sit down and meditate was your spirit calling out to you that I need this shutdown or standby time. Even if you do nothing, like no yogic actual practice, you just sit down or whatever. That's what you are aligning that with. So that's what that, and everything. We are all yogis. Every adult who has done anything constructive or destructive, we are able to do that in this world because of alignments. So for example, if I'm going out in the gym and I'm trying to get bigger, muscular, first I have to want to be that. So my spirit has to be like, no. So like, sorry, the video got cut off. So my spirit has to be like, I think I'll be much fitter and healthier and energetic and live a better life if I'm more muscular, or maybe I just want to look certain way. So the spirit's like, I want to do something energetic. I need some physical outlet, boxing, weightlifting, anything. And you try to do certain active things. You can go out for running or whatever. Then the mind is made. Then you have to align the body. You have to physically wake up early if you plan on working out early. You have to take your body from home to gym or to the ground or wherever. So the body is aligning. You're mentally focused on doing that, not thinking about work when you're lifting weights, not thinking about food when you're doing crunches, not thinking about sex when you see women in the gym or men in the gym. Okay, because you are aligning your mind, you're aligning your body by actually showing up, and your spirit is either already there, that's why you're doing that, or the spirit follows. It doesn't matter where you start. So this was just one example. Going to the gym, it could be anything that you do in life, anything from a little bit of a change in your diet, a little bit of change in your circle. You might be like, I don't want to hang out with these people anymore, these friends, whatever. It doesn't always have to be a change. Whatever you do in life as an adult, as a person, you do it with the alignment of at least three things: mind, body, and spirit. Because those three things are important, but they are like the least requirement for anything to be created. Because if you know numerology, number 3 is creation. Number 1 is Alpha, the man, Adam. Number 2 is Eve, the feminine. Adam is odd. Odd. Eve is even. That's 1 and 2. I'm just talking about duality right now. It's yin and yang. Odd is God, which is good. Even is evil, which is devil. Is the same. You need to know numerology. Does not mean women are the devils or evil, but that's what that energy is. And out of that, what is formed is the number 3, the creation, the child of man and woman, the creation, number 3. So to create anything, that was just an example, so you understand why number 3 is creation. To create anything, number 3 is needed. If you know anything about Indian mythology, you know the big 3 gods, the tribunal gods of Indian mythology: Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Brahma represents creation. He is number 3. Vishnu represents number 6. Yeah, in this sense, number 6 is not 666 evil devil number. It is because it's repeated 3 times. 6 is evil because the 6th house is losses, and in astrology you repeat it 3 times, it becomes creation of evil, hence it becomes a devil's number. And there's more to it too, because the number 666 has all the numbers 6, 3 and 9, or 3, 6 and 9. 6 repeated 3 times, the number being 6, and 6 3 times is 18, which is 9. So that's a complete different thing. But Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, who is the protector and the one who maintains the world, he is number 6, he is in the middle. And then we have number 9, which is Shiva, the god of destruction. And that's a complete different thing, just dropping some extra little bits of knowledge. But how does this come into what I was talking about before is that the number 6 is creation, as God, Lord Brahma, is the creator god. So this goes in many ways. The number 3 is creation. So we as adults, we are creative, we are creators, we are gods of our own little lives, our own universes. We can do good things, create good lives, healthy lives. We can do bad things, create bad things in our lives. That's what adults are. Okay, so for example, if I'm doing some bad things out there in the world, then there are going to be repercussions of it, which are going to be bad. If I'm doing good karmas, the returns are going to be good. Okay, it is what it is. But I'm creating that. That's what I become. Once I become an adult, I can do good or bad. That's what we are as adults. So, and it happens only with the aligning of 3 things, which is the mind, body, and spirit. And usually, if 2 things are given, the third will usually have to follow. For example, like I was coming back to our virginity topic, if you are losing virginity, let's say in your body, like the unfortunate, like being abused or raped or forced into sex, or just being a person who's human trafficked, or just being forced to be a sexual worker, then in the body directly first is where the corruption is happening, the loss of virginity. But your spirit is good, pure. Your mind, you don't know what the fuck is happening. Your mind is okay, but you get traumatized. your spirit is not healthy and happy in that situation. So what happens? Eventually, you do you're abused multiple times, you are no longer a virgin. So for example, if a woman, yes, I'm going to be controversial like that, if a woman has sex without the bad attitudes, and she's having, like, let's say a teenage girl but an adult having sex with her boyfriend because he's like, I want to right? And she's like, okay, I don't have a sexual nature, I love you in a different way, but if it has to be, we have to have a complete union, and for whatever reason we cannot wait for a marriage, then because we're still young, let's do it. And if they do it and she is doing it for love, her intentions are good, she won't lose her virginity, at least probably not the first time. Now, as far as the guy's intentions, we can't really say for sure in this example, but it doesn't matter. But if she keeps doing that and his intentions aren't good, she has lost virginity, actually lost virginity. So, and where am I basing all of this on? Like, why do people not lose virginity after sex? Usually, always, not always, but most of the time, is because we have not just mythological stories, we have real people who are walking in the face of the earth, who have had sex and have had lived much fuller lives and still are virgins. We know Jesus was born out of a virgin, Mother Mary, she was Virgin Mary. Krishna was born out of a virgin. Mithra was born, every prophet is born out of a virgin. Okay, that is also symbological, that is also astrotheological, but it is also real. As far as the yogic principles go, you can be a virgin and still have babies as a woman and still be a virgin. How does that work? Now bringing it a little bit more to astrology, talking about the zodiac sign of Virgo the virgin. And yes, virginity has to be more focused on females. Now you may be like, oh, this is just men, perverse or insecure men trying to control and trying to make women whatever they want, because they want to control feminist and whatever. The reason this is because if you look at the zodiac signs, the first woman that appears is a woman, not the first feminine sign, because the first feminine sign is Taurus, then we have Cancer, but the first woman that symbolizes the complete zodiac sign is Virgo the virgin, because virginity is a woman thing more than a man thing. Men can just fuck around, they won't lose virginity in that sense. If you are talking about virginity in a physical sense, women lose it. Technically everybody loses virginity, like I said, mind, body and spirit, but with women you can actually somehow scientifically, biologically see that. With men, it's like if you see a dude with beard, with a more muscular shape, whether he is muscular or not, if he's developed, he has chest hair and everything, he's matured, but does not mean he's not a virgin. He can still be a virgin in that sense. But with women, if you see certain body parts develop, not just because they have gone through puberty and everything, but also like, for example, if a woman is lactating, you can be like, whoa, she has no kids but she's lactating, probably not a virgin. Has nothing to do with virginity, but yes, because like I said, virginity is a purity thing, and you are not impure just to have developed your body sexually. When your attitudes develop in the body, in the mind, in the spirit, in certain unhealthy ways, that's loss of virginity, because you lose something pure. And yes, sex is a huge part of that, because with sex losing virginity is very easy, because once you're an adult, taking your mind to Kam Vasana, sex, is very easy. When you're an adult, when you're a kid or a teenager, that is also very easy too. So that's where people who know this, who know what happens, the evils that happen after you lose your virginity, they target people at that exact age, prepubescent or around puberty, teenagers. These are the age groups targeted by certain people who, like I said, spiritually born evil, cannot help themselves. They are unfortunately sitting at places of power, and they abuse their power by just letting certain propaganda, certain types of manipulation mainstream in mainstream media, and even in food and all those things that is affecting people's bodies, minds, and everything. So that's a complete different thing though, but definitely a part of the whole process of how we lose something that's actually very, very precious to us, which is virginity. I mean, yes, we can always be like ignorant and who the fuck cares, right? But a person who truly knows what it is, who is realized, who knows what it is, who knows what he has lost, will know what he has lost and will really regret that. So people who are ignorant of like who the fuck cares, that's because you do not know. If you knew how much that loss is, knew as in realization, not knew as in knowledge, because knowing something is just you can ignore to know that. Okay, it's like you're driving on the road and you're like, someone's hitting someone, is like, okay, I know, I see it, but I'm just going ahead. But realizing is like knowing that you witnessed a crime and you didn't stop it, so you are also part criminal. That is realization. So when you have that realization of what you've lost, then you can begin the process of, okay, that is what virginity was, this is how I was when I had it, now this is who I am. How did I lose it? And this is for everyone. You yourself can figure out how you've lost it, which for you, which level was first. Was it body, was it mind, was it spirit? And each one of them can be rectified. You can see I'm not saying that you cannot gain your virginity, not in this life, but like I said, the spirit is free. The spirit never aligns with this stuff. So if your body is corrupt, if your mind is corrupt, not just sexually, but and not just all the time, you cannot be corrupt all the time, but you've certain things have matured in certain ways in your mind and body or whatever, not completely healthy or whatever, but you've let those literally they have become forms of entities, and now you have let them become you're hosting them in your body. So you can let go of those things. That is detoxing yourself of certain things.